So, the Las Vegas Raiders obviously dropped the game to the Denver Broncos just a couple days ago, and something interesting happened that's got everyone talking. It's about Maxx Crosby and what Sean Payton said after the game. Some people are saying he's trolling, some are saying he's taking shots at our guys, but I want you to actually hear what came out of Sean Payton's mouth, and then we can talk about what this really means. What's up, everybody? If you're just finding us, hit that subscribe button. We're your home for everything AFC West, right here on this channel. You know, before I play this clip for you guys, it's pretty interesting because when coaches talk about specific players after games, they usually have a reason for it. And Sean Payton, he's not exactly known for holding back his thoughts.
You know, the elite teams in 17 regular season games will be really ready for 13 or 14 of those games. And then the ones that are not, they still find a way to win. And they may lose a few, but they find a way still. I said to him today, that, you know, our team a year ago didn't win this game. You know, we were the better team today. And we didn't always play like it, but we'll get those things cleaned up. Gardner is tough when he gets out of the pocket. And so every time he got out of the pocket, I'm screaming at Vance and every defensive coach, you know, we want to cage rush him. And when we can keep him there, you know, but 89, 98, 19. And those are really good players. But we didn't hear from them a lot.
Now look at what just happened there. Payton's basically saying they didn't hear from our guys, specifically mentioning 98 and 89. That's Maxx Crosby and Brock Bowers if you're keeping track. He's out here talking about how they cage-rushed Gardner Minshew and wrapped it all up by basically saying these are good players. But where were they? But here's the thing, and this is what really gets me. When Payton says they didn't hear from these guys, what's he really saying? Because if you actually watched that game, if you really paid attention to what was happening on the field, there's a whole different story to tell. And I think a lot of people are missing what actually went down with Maxx Crosby in this game. Let me break this down for you because there's something really important here that nobody's talking about. When a defensive player, especially someone like Maxx Crosby, doesn't show up in the stat sheet with 3 or 4 sacks, everybody starts saying, where was he? But that's not how football actually works, and I'm going to explain exactly why that narrative is completely wrong. I'm really curious what you guys think about this situation before I get into the details. Do you think Payton was actually taking shots, or was this just him trying to pump up his own team's performance? Because honestly, when you look at what actually happened in this game, there's a lot more to this story. Listen, we need to talk about what's really happening with Maxx Crosby because I'm seeing these narratives pop up everywhere, and they're just not accurate. You know how this started back in week 1 when everyone was saying, oh, Justin Herbert shut down Maxx Crosby. And now it's becoming this thing where if Max doesn't get multiple sacks in a game, people start questioning him. But let me tell you what I actually saw when I went back and watched every single one of his snaps multiple times. Maxx Crosby had 17, yes, 17, positive impact plays in this Broncos game. And I'm not just talking about the stuff you see in the highlights. No, it's the little things that don't always get the spotlight. I'm talking about those 1st and 10, and Crosby's out there blowing up the run. Instead of the Broncos getting a manageable 2nd and 7, they're stuck with 2nd and 13. That kind of stuff adds up. Those are the plays that shift momentum, that give the defense some breathing room, and honestly, that's why the Raiders were even able to hang in there as long as they did. And here's what people aren't seeing. Crosby's getting triple teamed on some plays. The Broncos are literally designing their entire offensive game plan around him. They're running bootlegs away from his side, they're getting the ball out quick, they're doing everything they can to neutralize him. And you know what? That's actually a sign of respect. When Sean Payton, one of the best coaches in the league, has to specifically game plan for you, that says something. You know what Josh McDaniels said about this last year? He said sometimes it doesn't matter how good your individual offensive linemen are. If your quarterback can get the ball out quick enough, if he's playing within rhythm, the defensive line isn't going to get home anyway. That's exactly what teams are doing against Max. So when you're on Twitter or Instagram and you see people saying Max is overrated or overpaid, just remember, there's so much more happening on that football field than what shows up in the box score. The fact that Payton had to come up with a specific strategy just to contain Max, that tells you everything you need to know. Now, speaking of changes in strategies, we've got some pretty big news about the quarterback situation that just got confirmed. Tom Pelissero put it out there. Alright, so let me tell you what's happening with Aidan O'Connell because this is actually pretty interesting. This week, he was taking first-team reps in practice, doing the walkthrough that wasn't open to media. But now Tom Pelissero's confirmed it. O'Connell is getting the start against the Chiefs on Friday. And honestly, I think this is exactly what we need right now. Because here's the thing about the situation. Everyone keeps talking about next year, new coaching staff, new quarterback, but none of that is guaranteed. Think about it. If O'Connell wins 2 or 3 games to end this season, we're looking at like the 15th overall pick. You're not getting your franchise quarterback at 15. Now, I've got to admit something here. I was wrong about O'Connell earlier this year. I was pushing this narrative in the offseason that he was too slow, couldn't outrun a nose tackle, all that stuff. But watching him this year, he actually looks a lot faster than he did last year. Is he going to win any races? No, obviously not, but his pocket awareness is honestly better than what we've seen from Minshew. And here's what makes this really interesting. We're finally going to see what O'Connell can do with Scott Turner calling plays. The quick game with Getsy was terrible, but Turner's got a different approach. Plus, and this is key, we're finally going to have our best offensive line unit of the season starting this game. Now, I know some of you were excited about those Daniel Jones rumors, but I've got to tell you something about that. Jordan Schultz just put it out there that despite the Raiders showing interest, Jones has actually eliminated Las Vegas from consideration. And listen, I know some people trust Ian Rappaport more, but let me tell you something about Jordan Schultz. Sources matter, and Jordan Schultz is one of the most reliable out there. Take this as an example. Earlier this season, Schultz reported that Malcolm Kuncey's injury was season-ending. Shortly after, The Athletic published a piece claiming it was only a 4-week issue. Many, understandably, leaned toward The Athletic's version initially. But 3 weeks later, the Raiders confirmed Kuncey was done for the season, just as Schultz had said all along. His track record speaks for itself. Now, Schultz is reporting that Daniel Jones isn't coming to Vegas. With his credibility, it's a claim worth paying attention to. But the bigger question is, does that even matter? The real conversation is about what's happening with the Raiders' quarterback situation as the draft approaches. That's where the focus should be. The buzz around this year's quarterback class is fascinating. Neither Caleb Williams nor Jaden Daniels is being viewed as a lock for the first overall pick. In fact, some analysts are comparing this class to the 2022 draft, the Kenny Pickett year, where no quarterbacks truly stood out as first-round talents, but teams still reached because of their need for a franchise QB. This brings up an interesting dilemma. Players like Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty, and Will Johnson are essentially guaranteed to be future stars. The same can be said for Abdul Carter and Caleb Banks from Florida. With talent like that available, does it make sense to take a chance on a quarterback when there are defensive studs ready to elevate a team's roster? This is also why Daniel Jones was considered a potential fit for some teams. Sure, he hasn't been putting up big numbers this season, but with the right coaching, maybe an offseason under someone like Scott Turner or whoever ends up as the offensive coordinator, there's a belief that he could make real strides. Of course, that's off the table now since Jones seems set on joining a playoff-caliber team. Looking ahead to this week, there's a lot at stake despite the team being technically eliminated from playoff contention. It's a short week with the game on Friday, plus the added complexity of a holiday week. All eyes will be on how much practice time Aidan O'Connell can get and how well prepared the team will be under these circumstances. It's going to be a real test for everyone involved. But at the end of the day, it's still Raiders versus Chiefs. A division rivalry that never fails to bring excitement. There's always something unique about having the opportunity to disrupt a rival's season, and that's what makes games like these so special. So, guys, it's on you now. I want to know what you guys think about all this. What are your expectations for O'Connell? What do you think about this whole Maxx Crosby situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe if you're new here. As the NFL never stops, neither do we, so I'll see you guys next time with another video.